Okay, so it's been a minute since I've put up a video, and welcome everyone to Sound Art Magic. My name is Zanetta, and today I wanted to share with you my current working deck, my favorite deck that I've been using lately, the Lightseerstarot by chris-annedonnelly. So I have been meaning to make this video for a hot minute, and for those of you who just know me as a percussionist and as a teacher and as a nonprofit director and all that jazz, you're probably thinking, why is she taking her tarot deck and showing it to the world? Well, I'm showing it to the world because I like it so much, and I think you're going to like it too. So stick around. I'm going to share with you a little bit about what I love about this deck and my favorite cards. There's not going to be any edits, so it's just going to be one shot through. If you want to zoom ahead in the video, you can look at details and all sorts of stuff. It's not an unboxing. I've been reading for people with this professionally and using it every single day. So no unboxing here. It's just a straight up review of this deck from someone who uses it for paid readings. So a lot of my readings revolve around creativity and revolve around helping people navigate career changes, navigate how to make their dream jobs or their dream projects become something that becomes more part of their lives and helps them to become more whole in a sense. A lot of us live lives where we feel like we're doing one thing for our jobs and then we're doing something totally different for what we care about. No harm in that. I want to put that out there. There's no wrong way to do life. But there is, sometimes people feel called to have more of a merge with their creative passions and what it is that they do for a living. So I do a lot of reading about that, creative projects, stuff like that. So when I saw this deck about, I want to say over a year ago, I was so excited to support it and to be involved. And I tell you, the wait was really, really long. It was a long time since I had backed it and was excited about pre-ordering it. And there were all sorts of wonderful updates, but it was frustrating. So chris-annedonnelly is the creator of this deck, and I'm just going to show you the guidebook so you can just see it for yourself, what the logo and everything looks like. It's the Light Seers Tarot. The premise of this deck is a balanced idea of light and shadow and applying that to our everyday lives and to the modern world. So this deck has a lot of diversity in it. I will say that most of the body types and stuff like that are not necessarily as diverse. Like there are not a lot of fat folks in there. There aren't any disabled folks. Though there's some like gender queer energy in there, and that feels like, okay, we're starting to step into this as being more of a norm. But that is something that as a queer woman of color, that is something that I am definitely looking for right away when I'm picking a deck. So the art style is kind of a sketch art style. So I'm going to show you a couple cards here. We've got the Three of Cups. We've got the Eight of Wands. I love that because it reminds me of drumsticks and like so many drumsticks, like so many drummers playing at the same time. It's a little bit of stomp, and as you know, I'm a female drummer, so I really can dig some stomp energy. We've got, what else do we have here? The King of Wands looking fierce. This one always makes me laugh a little bit. The Knight of Cups, because if some guy came up to me and started pulling that kind of vibe, I would be like, but the art style is a little sketchy in terms of it's literally like there's some sketch shading and stuff like that. And some really beautiful, vibrant colors. But the archetypes and the characters and the situations that are presented are very true to this time and this era that we're in Western society. Many of these images feel very relevant and very accessible. So I really appreciate that about this deck. One of my things that I look for in a deck to read for anyone is to make sure that that deck is accessible. So I want images that people can relate to and can understand. Sometimes I use more complex decks or abstract decks like the Margaret Peterson Tarot, or I'll use the Frau Grand Duchess Tarot. But with this particular deck, I really want something that someone who's never read tarot before can totally understand and relate to. Like, look at this Ten of Wands. It's pretty clear what's going on in this picture. She's walking away. She's got what she needs. She's made decisions about her life. Having been through lived experiences and tried many things, she knows what works and what doesn't work, and she's only got the essentials with her. This just kind of reads like butter. It's like a knife through butter. It's so smooth reading with this deck. You can feel this radical suspension, this radical displacement in the service of something greater. Like, that's just incredible. And of course, I'm going to show you a few of my favorite cards to kind of just like really get into that energy and why this deck is just so special. Another thing that really comes to mind when I think of what the Light Seers does that most decks don't is it uses, there's a lot of implications in this deck. So, for example, when you see this Page of Cups, you see the figure that's in color and full sketch and full shading and all that stuff, and you see the figure up above. But what you're also seeing is this amazing, like, you know, this like connection, like all these little white doodles here. It's pretty hard to see in this camera and in this light, but there's a lot of implication in the way that she uses this ethereal light energy throughout the deck. Like, you see it in here, in the Two of Cups. That is just like this gorgeous, ephemeral, effervescent energy that transcends the solid imagery that she puts forth. So there's like layers. And I think that's what light and shadow really implies. It's not black and white. It's like there are densities and depths of concepts in the tarot. And the more that you work with the tarot, the more that you get into the nuances of how sometimes in this situation, sometimes in these situations, this is the shadowy kind of meaning that's gonna matter. And in this instance, it might be the interplay of this light and this sparkle and this concept. It's very complicated, you know, like how we learn the traditional meanings, but the traditional meanings of the tarot are only just a fraction of the actual depth and possibility that we can use with this tool. And this deck in particular, I feel like, does such an excellent job of illustrating that depth and illustrating the infinite possibilities that are housed within each card. She also has a really strong runic practice, and for those of you who are like myself who read runes, it's amazing to have runic energy infused, because I often love using runes with tarot readings and with oracle readings. And I love combining different modalities. And it's just so obvious that she knows like a lot about runes and has worked extensively with them. So she's built much of her guidebook, much of the symbols inside with that runic energy. I want to also show you just a couple of these cards that just feel so special to me. I think this was the one that I fell in love with. Okay. So, that card. I've never seen a more beautiful Judgment card in my entire life. I just think that card is incredible. So this is like the emergence of spirit and the call of that spirit and following that call. So there's so much there in this card, and you can feel the energy of like being lifted out, that astral energy almost. So like that's a really hard concept to convey in a tarot deck in a two-dimensional image. And Chris-Anne has just done a marvelous job with that. Here's another one that I really love. The Star. So beautiful. The healing, the connection of healing to our ancestors, to time before time, all of that energy, it's just right there. And then we have, well, this is my card for the year, the Chariot. And look at that. It is just so dynamic. She's captured like the power, the control that one would have to have in order to harness that power and to be able to even do that feat of strength. So there's so much that she is able to, as in her skill, is able to just put into these cards. And I love some cards that are way less refined than this one, way less virtuosic. That is not a prerequisite for me to work with a deck. But I will say that this deck allows so many people to be able to be their own guides. Because part of what I love about reading tarot and holding space for people in tarot readings is that they become tarot readers. They become their own best guide, and they remember that through the course of a reading. It's not that someone tells you what to do. It's that messages are coming forth. They respond to those messages. They start to reflect, start to realign, and they come to their own informed decisions about what matters to them. So these cards are like these amazing catalysts for realignment, and being able to see these details, being able to see like all these really subtle dynamic movements and stuff, I think allows people to really step into the card way more than other decks that I've used. Let me see. There's another thing I want to tell you about this deck that has been such a joy, and it's the guidebook. Look at this beast. So here's my nose, and this is the guidebook. It's pretty flippin' thick here. And this guidebook, there is the card image, the light and shadow kind of message. There's the experience of the card, like, stepping into the world of the card. There's information about the messages. There's suggested prompts and questions for the person reading. So she went through and created this guidebook that's basically a comprehensive self-help manual. Now, for those of you who go and buy her mass published version of this later, I think she mentioned that the guidebook is going to be smaller and is not going to be like this. And I'm sad for you all. I hope she puts up a PDF version of this, or go ahead right now and get online and try to buy it from her, because when things get mass published, they probably have to make a lot of considerations to make the cost profitable and to make sure that it all works out for the bigger company, yada, 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 yada. But that's a shame because the treasure trove of this deck is just unbelievable. So if you've been thinking about this deck, if you've been thinking about getting it, I really can't recommend it enough. The feedback I've gotten from clients has been like, what a stunning deck. Oh my gosh, I totally understand what that means. Each person can totally read the image for themselves. Five of Wands historically has been a bunch of people with some wands and they're kind of going nuts. There's a little bit of that here too, but this card kind of gets into a little bit of is it competition? Is it play? Is it friendly? Is it foe? Is it frenemy? It gets into this we're building, we're doing things, and the energy is getting ramped up, and there's a lot of stuff. There's layers to this, and there's many ways to read it. I think in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck, which most people read from, this particular card is a little bit more antagonistic, and it doesn't necessarily have to be. And I think the more that we can be a little bit more fluid with our interpretations of our cards, the more we can actually meet people and use our intuition in the present moment of the reading. So this is my take on the Lightseers Tarot. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's kind of a short review. God, I'm just going to look at this. Queen of Cups. Channel much? This Devil card. Woo! It's intense. There he is with these puppet strings. This is one of my favorite ones because I never saw the Seven of Wands like this. Grounded and protected in the face of anything that comes up. What a great card. What a flippin' great card. So I hope you enjoyed this reading. It was a little bit more, this review. It was a little bit more short, but I wanted to give you the brass tacks, basically, of what this deck is to me at the current moment, what it can be for other people, and who I recommend this for. I didn't actually get into who I recommend this for. I kind of recommend this for anyone who's interested in having a pretty accessible, diverse deck that allows them to read fairly clearly right out of the box. It doesn't take a lot to get to know this deck. I think you can really easily understand what's going on in these pictures and be like, yep, I got it. So I think there are 0 confusing cards in this entire deck, which for some people is a turnoff. It can be a turnoff for you because you may want to, have a deck that kind of stimulates you in a different direction. But as a client reading deck, I cannot recommend this deck enough. So that's my review for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please be sure to subscribe to my newsletter because that is where I'm putting in all of my new moon tarot readings, all of my meditations, all of my exclusive content, all of my blog posts about creative empowerment and using magic for creative empowerment. Everything is going into that newsletter. And the newsletters are more like a newspaper. They are massive, but I just love making them so much, and I'm not going to apologize for doing what I love and doing it well. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please subscribe to the newsletter. It's soundoutmagic.com/newsletter. So, and yes, in September, books are available. If you want to book a tarot reading in September, please do so. And if you're looking for one-on-one insight, I am here. I do it online. I do it in person. I do pre-recorded readings with meditations, and I do email readings. So hit me up, soundoutmagic.com, and I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. Take care.